Alabama movement, Side William E. Donaldson Correctional Facility. Today is September 20th, 2016. We're in the midst of the historic September 9th national work strike. So many things going on around the country, more police killings, Colin Kaepernick making a stand, a lot of people speaking out on that issue. For us on the inside, we're dealing with the humanitarian crisis going on at Holman Correctional Facility, in addition to the overall issue of mass incarceration and prison slavery, the movement to abolish or amend the exception in the 13th Amendment, which allows slavery in this country. Today, I'm going to be talking about cell phones inside of the prison system. Cell phones, as we all know, are inside of virtually every system in the country. Really, they're not allowed by the administration. They're considered to be contraband. But we beg to differ, not only on whether the cell phone is contraband, but even the peniological objective behind preventing cell phones. There are over 1 billion cell phones in the world now. Children is young children, 7, 8, 9 years old, using cell phones. They try to justify the ban by stating that cell phones constitute a security threat. They always say it's a security threat, but they'll never define the threat. The reality is, cell phones are not a security threat. If they were, officers have cell phones. The issues that are taking place in prison did not just begin. They were in existence before cell phones came into existence. They say, well, they're using it to organize drug activity. Well, if you read the book Worse Than Slavery, which talks about prisons over 100 years ago, drugs were in prison then. They talk about gang organizing and gang activity. Well, they have laws that target gangs and incarcerate them. So gangs that were in prison before cell phones. Just any number of foolish things that they can say to justify attempting to deprive us of access to technology. And cell phone does a lot of things. It allows people to communicate with their families, to talk to their children. For people who are poor, which the majority of people in prison are, if you don't have someone that is able to constantly put money on your account, you're not able to communicate with your outside families, loved ones, and whatnot. So therefore, the essential part of rehabilitation is missing. Cell phones, you can take correspondence courses, you can stay up to date on the news, so many different things. But the issue with cell phones nowadays is that they allow us to expose the hypocrisy, the lies, the contradictions, and all of these things that are going on inside of the prison system. We've been doing these nonviolent, peaceful work strikes. In the past, they would immediately say, "Oh, that's a riot," and they would use that to justify going in with their emergency response teams, riot teams, whatever you want to call them, and they would go in and use force and brutally force people to go back to work. But they can't do that with cell phones, because we can announce to the world this is a nonviolent work strike, and then we can film it. Also, just as with police brutality, the same thing. The same reason why officers don't want to wear the body cameras is the exact same reason why they don't want us to have these, because we can film these things as they're occurring, and we can show people. And we know that officers lie, the state will lie, and even the media can be solicited to tell lies, sometimes knowingly, but most of the times unknowingly. They're only repeating a narrative that's one-sided. It's coming only from the officer's perspective, only from the state agent's perspective. And so this allows us to put our perspectives out there. It allows us to expose wrongful convictions, prosecutor misconduct. It allows us to expose corruption. It allows us to do so many different things. That is what they consider to be the threat. It is not a threat to security, because Free Alabama Movement has been using social media for over 3 years, and they have not stated once what security issue has been breached? What security has been threatened by these cell phones? There has been a situation a couple of times where family members of someone who was the victim of a crime saw some social media content and I don't want to see that. He's supposed to be incarcerated. Okay, we understand that. But the issue is, does being incarcerated justify being totally silenced and cut off from society? And the answer is no. The First Amendment gives us the right to free speech, and that speech applies to people who are incarcerated. They don't want us talking about the reality of what's going on inside of the prisons. And these cell phones allows us to go beyond their mediums where they can control the speech and censor what we're saying and make sure that we're not reporting on what's really going on. And so they say cell phones. And the overriding issue, the main issue, is always the money. Prison Legal News, Paul Wright, Alec Freeman, those guys and the women who are part of that phone campaign. I mean, what they've done over the years of struggle is phenomenal. Getting the FCC to change these rules, to cut back all of these excess fees, billions and billions and billions of dollars. Hold on. Let me find one of these articles. Okay, I got a Prison Legal News here. The front page, of course, talking about cell phones, breach that allowed all of this cell phone data to be, just disseminated to the public. The Campaign for Prison Phone Justice, co-founded by the Human Rights Defense Center, has been working to expose. It's a ripoff. It's a monopoly, a multi-million-dollar monopoly that these people are using to charge people to communicate with family. It's like being kidnapped and held for ransom. And if you want to communicate with somebody, you got to pay. And so that's the prices that they're charging is equivalent to paying a ransom to communicate with your family. And this is a business model that they're using. And so when we have these cell phones, we're not paying that ransom. We're paying whatever $60 a month phone rate plan. With technology today, there are so many ways that they can incorporate a cell phone into a prison and not have a problem. They can still monitor calls the same way, But as I said, they're not going to make this profit. And so when the profit is removed, then there's no longer an issue. But long as they're making millions and hundreds of millions of dollars, then it's a security threat. But I challenge them to identify the threat, other than what I'm doing right now, talking about the economics involved and exposing the fraud. The media is not allowed inside of the prison. They can't see the living conditions. They can't talk to people. They can't verify solitary confinement. They can't verify mental health issues. They can't verify inhumane living conditions. They can't verify police brutality because there is no media. And these phones allow us to connect and access social media and to get a different message out there. And that message that we put out there costs them money. Because it exposes fraud, it exposes government waste, it exposes lies, it exposes corruption, and then it allows us to circumvent their economic system, their toll bridge, so to speak. If my daughter's having a problem and I have a cell phone and my $60 a month is paid up and she needs to talk to me, then I can be on that phone and offer that advice. But if she's having a problem, I don't have any money on my account, she's not able to talk to me. I can't maintain a relationship with my mother and father who are seniors, past their 60s and 70s. They don't have the resources to maintain a phone, wall phone. So I'm not able to have that part of my rehabilitation because of economics. I can't be there for my son when he needs me, when he's under peer pressure, when he's about to make a bad decision because of economics. Where are our children going to get the money from to keep putting money on a wild phone? My daughter is a single parent trying to go to school. My son is a young man trying to get back in school. You know, he's having financial difficulties getting back in school. So how he gonna be able to afford a wall phone? You know, I can't communicate with my family. My mother is disabled. She can't afford to be putting money on a wall phone. But I can afford this cell phone. I can use this cell phone, and people will support that. Many organizations, the Ordinary People Society, Pastor Glasgow, be glad to pay these phone bills. IWOC, Incarcerated Workers Organizing Committee, Mothers and Families, Mississippi Southern Bell. So many organizations out there that would be willing to, assist people, and people will be able to help themselves. But the state doesn't make money off of that. There's no kickback going into the commissioner's pocket or the legislators' pockets who are passing these bills, making sure that cell phones are contraband and it's a criminal offense to bring them into a facility. So I just wanted to speak on that and talk about some of the issues with cell phones, what our perspective is on them. For us, these are life-saving tools. These are life-saving devices that allow us to maintain connections with society, rehabilitate ourselves. We can take correspondence courses online. We can help ourselves legally. We can connect with people and network. The potential negatives don't outweigh all of the positives. The positives are concrete. The negatives, that the boo and scare tactics that they use, are theoretical, hypotheses, probabilities, possibilities. But the realities outweigh all of that. The reality is, I can call my granddaughter in just a few minutes and see what she's doing right now. And she can't afford to pay for me to do that on the wall phone every day when she comes home from school. Granddaddy, I learned this in school today. I can't hear that every day. I can't. So if I'm trying to live off of a wall phone, in solitary confinement in disciplinary cell, you can't even have a phone. Guys over here 6, 7, 8 months, a year, 2 or 3 years, never able to pick up a phone. Well, he keeps getting in trouble. Yeah, because you won't give him any means to improve himself. You won't let him call home. You won't let him hear from his mother and say, baby, you need to chill out and calm down. You won't let him get that message. The message he keep getting is, shut up, get in your cell, lock down, I'm writing you a disciplinary. Well, where the positive message gonna come from? I'm 15 minutes into this video. Ain't no security check being done. Where the positive message gonna come from? He can't even use the phone for over a year. He don't know if his mom and dad are alive. Over 80% of the people in prison are functionally illiterate. They can't write letters. Family members are too busy, too tired. But they have a few minutes where they can talk on the phone. But if the state can't make money off of that phone call, then he can't make a phone call. And this stuff is not geared toward rehabilitation anyway. If you're in solitary confinement, you can't get a book, you can't get a newspaper, you can't get a magazine, and that's even if you can't read and write. I asked the warden, I said, well, you got guys in lockup, they can't read and write, they don't have their GED. Why don't you allow us to use that time in a constructive manner to get to improve their thinking? I said, people who make bad decisions can improve those decisions with improved decision-making skills. No, there should be rewarding them for bad behavior. How does education become a reward when it's a right, when it's a human right? How can you be programmed? And this is a black warden, Warden Evans at St. Clair. How can a black man be programmed to say that education is a reward for negative behavior for someone who is in segregation? Well, what do you want him to do? Well, I want him to sit in the cell and look at the walls for 6 months. Really? Really? Are you that enslaved? Are you that much of a Sambo? Are you so far gone from reality? Has your mind been so as Carter G. Woodson said, double-minded consciousness. Are they thinking for you on a scale like that, where you can't even make sense? You can't have a reasonable, rational perspective on someone sitting in a cell 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, can't read and write, making bad decisions, and you saying he don't need education? That's a reward for negative behavior? I mean, that's what we dealing with. That's what we dealing with, y'all. Them the kind of, I don't know, man. They don't make them like they used to. That's what we dealing with. So, cell phones, they're needed. We need cell phones in prison. If you ain't doing nothing wrong, what you trying to hide? We need body cameras on correctional officers. Look at all the murders going on around in the prisons. They got an officer in New York just admitted to lying to cover up a murder. They need body cameras. Correctional officers need body cameras because they doing shit too. Rocrest Mack III was beat to death. Many others beat to death by police officers. They spray and spray when they feel like it. They hit you with a stick, busting your head when they feel like it. You know, so just shedding a little light on these cell phones. We need them too. You know, you can disengage. If you don't want us on the internet, fine, disengage it. You can't be on the internet, okay, whatever. Or you want to restrict our access to the internet, okay. These are smartphones. You can do all of that. But don't try to sell us on this crap that it's a security issue, but you can't define the security threat. You can't. You say, well, there's nothing that you can say that was not in existence before cell phone. And cell phones has been in the prisons for over 10 years now. So you should be able to define and point to people, this is the security threat, and you should have a dialogue, a catalog of incidents and issues to prove what you're saying, because the cell phones are here. Free Alabama Move. September 20th, 2016. Continuing with the September 9th nationwide prison work strikes, Free Alabama Movement. All the other organizations have been a part of supporting us around the country. We greatly appreciate it. Shout out to some of the people, South Carolina, the women in California, Brother Malik Watkins over there in Texas, in prison slavery movement, Jailhouse Lawyer Speaks, so many different people. I mean, Incarcerated Workers Organizing Committee, Oughta Be Well's Coalition Against Police Brutality, Brother Lorenzo Camboa Irvin, Sister Jonina Irwin, Richard Mafande Lake, the great Black Panther political prisoner here in Alabama. We continue to fight that struggle for our brother, our elder, our teacher, our much beloved elder. Sister Carolyn Lake, you know, been there every day, every step of the way. Mothers and families, Mama Ray, Queen Dara, Queen Tahira, Queen Kamaria, all the great people who are part of what we're doing. You know, we could not even think of doing it without you. And in fact, we're not doing it without you. So that's a misnomer. It's not we can't do it without you. We're not doing it without you. We're all doing it together. And so we're grateful for that. Free Ohio Movement, Free South Carolina Movement, Free Mississippi Movement, Free Mississippi Movement United, Free Virginia Movement. Everybody, the brothers down in Florida, we heard about you. You know, Wisconsin, hunger strikers, tremendous willpower, sacrifice, strong spirit, you know. It's so many people, you know, that we have to, our brother Anthony Robinson, the New Underground Railroad, you know, so we need these phones, you know. We should be able to engage in dialogue with the same tools and access that our adversaries have. If the states want to justify mass incarceration, we should have research tools that allow us to refute their arguments and to make our arguments. You know, don't try to cripple us in the process of stating our claims and then say, well, they're not, whatever they say. They'll say any damn thing. You know, they can say anything when they're the only ones doing the talking. But we're talking too. Free Alabama Movement got something to say. The National Freedom Movement against mass incarceration and prison slavery has something to say. Unheard voices, we got something to say. Now, peace with that.